Now, if you look carefully, you'll notice that political and media leaders on the left are slowly chipping away at this idea of masculinity. In other words, what it means to be a man. Don't believe me? Well, check out this discussion of school shooters on MSNBC.
Who's been told to man up? What does that mean?
No clue.
I got no idea.
So no emotion.
Yeah.
What's the hardest part about growing up for boys?
Hiding the pain.
Yeah. Not being able to express yourself.
Oh, my word. So the problem is masculinity, and targeting it isn't reserved for left-wing cable shows. Here's former President Obama.
A lot of our problems are caused by old men. No offense, men who are old.
Well, he's not exactly a spring chicken. I mean, come on. Let's discuss this. Bring in liberal analyst. Oh, not call you liberal analyst, Julie. You're an analyst who happens to be a little liberal.
Yeah.
To debate.
You could call me left-leaning, I would say.
How are you? Let's talk about this. Like, when I hear these attacks on masculinity, I hear the left equating masculine, what it means to be masculine, with abusive or criminality. Now, we're all against abuse. We're all against criminality. At least we should be. If we're not, you're weird. So for me, when you say someone's masculine, it doesn't, I don't see that. Or no, of course, I don't want that, and no one I know wants that. But it's okay for a man to, as friends of mine say, protect, provide, and defend. And I'm sorry, most women I happen to know like men who like to do that, that they carry themselves that way, and that's what they think their role is. Today, in schools and in discussions like we saw on MSNBC, that's considered kind of icky. That whole construct is oppressive. Why is that?
Well, I think that there's nothing necessarily wrong with, a man who wants to protect and defend. I think that what that specific MSNBC segment was talking about is the fact that rigid gender roles, specifically in boys, are tied to higher rates of suicide, substance abuse, violence. So it's basically saying that these gender roles are creating an environment in which men and boys feel that they can't express themselves, which they have to be.
But Julie, how is that connected? Gender, I mean, we've had gender roles for, I don't know, millennia. Mm-hmm. So we're like, well, gender roles are causing boys to commit suicide. Well, maybe there's a lot of societal factors involved in drug abuse, in promiscuity, in shaming, in substance abuse of other types, addictions, violent video games, isolation because of social media, family dissolution. Men have been tending to be masculine for a long, long time.
Right, and I think
that the feminists are like, well, it's the masculinity causing them to do all that.
I think that in the feminist community, you hear a lot of talk. We talk a lot about how gender roles tend to hold women back, but there's also something that needs to be discussed about how gender roles tend to hold men back. So men are taught from a young age, from very, very young age, preschool age, that they're supposed to be unemotional, that they're supposed to be macho, that they're supposed to be aggressive. And because of that, they don't really have healthy valves for, an outlet of their anger, frustration, things they're feeling sensitive about, rage, things they're experiencing in schools. And because of that, it expresses itself often. And yes, there are certainly other factors at play here, but it often expresses itself through violence and through, turning inward, through depression, through self-harm, through substance abuse. And I'm not saying that it's the only cause, that gender roles are the only things at play here, but they do
feel like they're all predators. I mean, I know a lot of guys who work in a workplace, maybe it's lawyers or businessmen, and they feel like it's open season on them. I mean, these are good people. They feel like we can't compliment anyone. We got to be careful what we say. And they feel like literally, if they're 25 and single, they can't ask out, a gal down the hallway for a drink. Because if they do, that's going to be considered somehow overly aggressive or abusive. I'm telling you, it's not easy to be a man in the current work environment or in the current societal involvement.
Well, I would argue it's a lot harder to be a woman in the current work environment, in the current, sort of scope of society.
Yeah, so, well, that's a given.
Right. So, I think that perhaps these men are experiencing additional pressure. They're having to watch what they say, watch how they behave. I think that that's a welcome change after the way that women have long been treated in the workplace. So I wouldn't say that that's one of the root causes of these increased self-harming and violent behaviors in men. I think that gender roles play a part in that, and all the things that come with that.
Right.
These gender roles create isolation. They create anger and a lot of pressure.
I'm sorry, we're going to run to black, but great segment.